Get your Gameface on. Get your Gameface on.
G'day and welcome to
Get
the
your
Gameface
Gameface
Footy
on.
Show
Gameface
live
on.
at Gameface HQ Studio 1. We're talking everything Southern Football, Netball League Division 4. And it's finals time. I can't wait to crack into this Lyndhurst, into a grand final. Amazing. That was always going to happen all year. They have been sensational. Frankston, they end Hallam's season. It's all over. They're on the drink, unfortunately. We're not on the drink because we're on Gameface and we've got to deliver all the best stuff. And the best stuff all year has always been the app update, Gameface app update with JB, Jane Bunn, Will Hunter, but it's got the sack. It's no more. Paddy, did you hear this, mate? It's been canned.
It's the first I've heard of it, and I'm pretty sad. You know, it's what I hang on for.
It's come from the top, mate, all the way down. They've said, no good. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was exciting. Too many people with my hand gestures and my just general beauty.
Yes.
Ability to give that ripping handball.
Yeah. At the end, sensational.
I was making too many people feel inadequate with themselves, so
I'll go with that anyway. Speaking of exciting, Lyndhurst versus South Yarra, semi-final 2. 5-13-43, they defeated South Yarra 2-8-20. The Yarras have been fantastic, gallant over the last 5, 6, 7, probably even 8 weeks, Paddy. But they weren't able to get it done over a stymie Lyndhurst. They really do know how to lock you down. I know it was a windy day on Saturday, and that was the day the game was played. Hard to score on those days, but Lyndhurst, for a long time now, have been able to really hold teams to low scores, haven't they, Pat?
They have. They were professional on the weekend. They went about it really. You know, you could see they had a plan in place. They stuck to it really well, and they hit South Yarra really hard. It was actually an interesting game to watch. So,
did you catch this one, Wilbur, on the Gameface app?
I caught some of the highlights, but obviously there weren't too many there for South Yarra. 2 goals on the board, which is sort of what we expected from Lyndhurst. As you say, they really sort of locked down on their opponents, and they play that finals brand of footy, and they were they're definitely tracking in the right direction, and keen to make amends for last year, obviously.
Lyndhurst, South Yarra, they've been the form sides all year. Grand final preview for you, Paddy. Can South Yarra still get it done over Lyndhurst? That's the big question.
absolutely they can. Lyndhurst controlled this. Lyndhurst controlled it from the start. They were a lot more physical. They really created stoppages out of everything. South Yarra, though, their ruckman was dominant. Belfarage, he got first hands to the ball every time, but Lyndhurst were able to force him to hit it to spots that would suit them. Yep. So a couple little tweaks. If their midfield created a bit of space for each other, Steghouse just got slammed every time he got the ball. They were on him. There was 2 or 3 blokes tackling him every time. So if they were able to create a bit of space for him, things can change pretty quickly. So
some better players for you across the board, Wilbur?
Well, Jared Murphy had a pretty good day, but Paddy reckons that Charlie Gardner was actually probably the best player on the ground, and both of those 2 guys are pretty key to their chances, and obviously got a fair bit of it. But look, South Yarra, they've now dropped 2 on the trot, and I wouldn't really call it panic stations. I mean, they've lost to a raging in-form Hallam, and now probably the competition benchmark in Lyndhurst. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they turn it around against Wilby Frankston this week.
yeah, I think as well the conditions. It was a windy, horrible day on Saturday. And that plays into Lyndhurst's hands. Lyndhurst play on the windiest spot in the world. They play there every week. Yeah, the ground's similar to what they play on. It's it was like a home game for them.
Yep.
It really was. So in a grand final in a couple of weeks, if the weather's a little bit nicer, it may ease up a bit for South Yarra, and then they may be able to find the ball on the outside a bit easier, get their run and carry going, because they were just smothered from any run and carry on the weekend. So it can turn pretty quickly, and it won't take a lot for it to turn around. But yeah.
Well, that was semi-final 2. Let's move on to semi-final number 1. Frankston v Hallam. Frankston 12-9-81 defeated Hallam 11-5-71. A lot closer game. This one was a good one, Paddy.
It was a really good game. I really thought Hallam at 3/4 time were probably in the box seat. They were a goal down, but they looked like they were absolutely coming. They were kicking with the wind in the last quarter, and Frankston just held on. They held strong.
Well, Hallam have had the form coming into this, and I know Frankston are a very good side, Wilbur,
Yep.
but it could have gone either way for mine.
It certainly could have, and we went through it last week, and I think we may have both picked Hallam, but it was, I mean, they came in with some red hot form, but you know the Frankston boys put 5 goals on the board in that first term, and that pretty much set the scene for the rest of the day. And from there, hard to play catch-up footy. Hallam, they did their best though, but at the end of the day, probably wasn't enough. So, disappointment for the Hallam boys, but Frankston lived to fight another day.
They do. Hallam were, they were 4 goals down at quarter time. But then they were a point up at halftime. They'd done all that hard work, and I thought they controlled that third quarter as well. Hallam looked like they were doing everything right, but Frankston just fought really hard. They weren't willing to give it in that last quarter and hand over their season.
That's what finals football's all about. Some better players for both teams, boys.
Well, Charlesian was probably the star for Hallam. He booted 4 goals again. And, he has really emerged as a superstar in this Division 4 competition. And, they're best.
He was well and truly their best. He was everywhere. He was working, he worked himself down back when needed, was putting himself in the hole, just found himself wherever the footy was. He was always close by. Super important for them. I thought Brendan Murphy for Frankston was dominant. Taking contested marks up forward, pushing himself down back, going into the ruck. He was, for me, he was probably their most important player on the ground, because when they needed a big mark or when they needed something, he was the one who stood up and did it. He was super impressive.
He's probably their most important player, period. Just his size, his experience, his versatility.
Yeah.
There'd be 7 other sides in that competition crying out for a bloke like that.
Yeah, absolutely you would. Lachlan Fielding as well kicked 3 of the first 4 goals of the game. Didn't do much afterwards, but
set him up.
Oh, absolutely, and he was dangerous up forward. Like in that first quarter, he was almost unstoppable.
I mean, you do that, you get some. Sorry, Robbo, you get some goals early on in the game. That then means that your opponent needs to put a fair bit of time and work into you. Whether you double team him, triple team him, doesn't really matter. It gives an opportunity for your teammates to come into the game. So even though he wasn't as influential from that point on. It made a massive deal, obviously, to your teammates whenever you can sort of get on a bit of an early roll.
You'd pay for that. There's someone to come in and just go crazy at the start of a grand final, a finals game, just to get the jump and, like you say, change some of the matchups, change some of the setups. Didn't work for the Collingwood boys in the grand final last year. You did it because they started like a house on fire. But
we mentioned them again, and I'm walking off the show.
We're not crying for them at all, are we, Paddy? We'll move on. Speaking of grand finals, the grand final footy show live. We're doing it, Gameface live. A grand final. We're not going to do the team of the week this week. This is part of the show where we usually read out the guys that were the best on the weekend. Obviously, there was only 2 games on the weekend, so we're not going to do that. But what we will do, September 4th, is a Wednesday at a venue that has not yet been locked in. We'll announce that as soon as we know. We'll be announcing the team of the year. I cannot wait to do that, because a lot of guys will be looking forward to finding out whether they're in this team, because you want to be in the Gameface team of the week for Division 3 with the Division 3 and 4 grand final footy show. It's going to be live. There's going to be a couple of beers. It's going to be great. We'll have some snags. We'll have a feed. Hope to see a big crowd in the house for the last show of the year, Wilbur.
I'm looking forward to this one with obviously Paddy and Jacko does our Div 3 show, and we'll get the grand final coaches in and have a bit of a chat. And it'll be absolutely massive way to really wrap up the an awesome Division 4 season and Division 3 as well. And I've worked pretty hard on the team of the year, and some great players named in that side as well. So stay tuned for that. We'll be announcing that live on the show, and not too far away from announcing a venue. We should be able to get that done in the next day or 2. So looking forward to it, Paddy.
Absolutely. People can come and heckle us in person instead of doing it over Facebook. So
we might have to get the chicken wire up in front of the panel, Paddy. Looking forward to that.
Why would they heckle us? Why would they heckle us?
I have no idea. Let's move on to a preliminary final preview. We'll talk about the game that's coming up. It is on Sunday at Keysy, South Yarra versus Frankston. It's a good ground down there at Keysy. Got nothing better to do, and that would be there are not too many things better than watching a finals game of football. There'll be Obviously, the canteen open. You can buy yourself some chips, have a Coke, kiddies, and enjoy a great game of football. It's going to be South Yarra versus Frankston. Let's talk about it, boy. Who wins, boys, and who wins and why?
I'll let you start this one, Paddy.
South Yarra win this.
Yep.
It's Frankston have had a really good season. They've had a really good 2 years, but unfortunately, I just don't think they have the. It's not the cattle because they've got some really good talent down there. I think South Yarra just probably play a better team brand of football.
Yep.
South Yarra should win this comfortably. Frankston, as I said, they've had a really good time. They won their first final. They didn't get a final win last year, so it's a big step up for them this year. They've improved a lot, and I think next year they will as well. I don't think they're quite there yet.
Well, who's got the better list? Who's got the better age demographic split?
That's a really tough question to answer. What I was going to frame it was I think South Yarra probably have more players in better form right at the minute. I think they're both comparable, and you can sort of see that the way they go at the ladder. To answer your question, maybe South Yarra just, but it's really splitting hairs there. But South Yarra is certainly the side that has, as I said, better players in better form, despite the fact they've lost their last two. I'm with you on this one, Paddy. I think South Yarra might get the points in this one, but.
We have been wrong before, though. We have been wrong before.
And certainly with South Yarra as well, we've been wrong on many fronts. But as we've said as well, the ground probably plays into Frankston's hands a little bit as well. Probably used to playing on much smaller ground are the Yarras, so that could be a factor. You were down there on the weekend, and I was there the week before. Is it still in still in reasonable nick?
Yeah, it's in great condition. The only thing is, obviously from a long time ago, there used to be trees on that Cheltenham roadside. They're all gone, so the wind just blows through at the moment. But the surface is perfect.
Strange decision to get rid of those.
I think one fell down, and they had to all get chopped down. But yeah,
we'll move on.
But just before we move on, I wouldn't mind just giving a shout out to the guys at the Hallam Footy Club on an outstanding season. I mean, obviously the seniors have finished up for the year. I think the reserves are still up and going, but they're coming from a long way back over the last couple of years, and to all the guys down there, Graham Casey and Ash Allen and all the boys down there, congrats on a fantastic season. And as I said, the reserve's still in there. The women are playing in the grand final. They are a club that are certainly going in the right direction, and despite the results, keep your heads held high. Job well done.
Just on that, we didn't know what to expect from them at the start of this year. We sort of had them in the maybe finals, maybe not. They could have been right down the bottom. We just didn't know, and for them to come out and perform the way they did, it's a huge effort for them as a club. So really good work, guys. Well done.
Watch them have a fair dinkum crack at it next year too.
They'd be pretty gutted right now, obviously, with that form coming. You get that hype up, you think, well, maybe we can challenge with this form at the moment, and then all of a sudden it's all over. I've had that feeling before. It's just terrible. You're on the beers, you don't want to be on the beers. No. It's all just taken. Question without notice really quickly before we go. What do Frankston have to do to win this game? You've both got South Yarra picked. What does Frankston bring on Sunday to Keysy to take it to South Yarra?
Frankston have to stop Belfrage from getting first hands at the ball, and then they have to stop Steghouse. With that said, they've got a pretty potent midfield, South Yarra. But what Lyndhurst were able to do was to, every time someone from South Yarra got their hands on the ball, it's 2 or 3 blokes tackling them every single time. They just close down their space really well. For Frankston to win, they have to close down their space and then burn them on the transition. Frankston have the ability to burn sides on the transition because some of their ball movement is really, really good. It's just their ability to stop that flow and stop the strengths that South Yarra have.
Wilbur, same question.
They've got multiple avenues to goal as well, South Yarra. So guys like Callaway and Eamon Hanney as well, and even that young was it Dylan Taylor? They can all get amongst the goal. So I think the Frankston defence have really sort of got to be on their toes. But like Paddy said, if they can stop the supply further up the middle, I mean, the forwards aren't going to get the footy then if that's the case. But obviously, another question to you with. Obviously, Brendan Murphy being able to play such a wide variety of positions. Do you throw him in the ruck straight away to take on Belfrage, or is he better suited to a key defensive role?
It's interesting. So it looked like at times on Saturday, Kerrigan played in the ruck for Frankston for the majority of the game, and he was good. he was pretty good. He was pretty consistent. But around the grounds, Murphy tended to run around and work as that mobile ruckman at times because obviously he's a bit more agile than Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Nice way. Yep.
Big loping dinosaur in the
Yeah.
old.
But that said, from Belfarage isn't really a jumping ruckman. So Kerrigan and Belfarage going one-on-one in an old school bit of a wrestle in the middle may work for them. You know, he's got the frame, Kerrigan, that he may be able to mix it with him. But when you've got someone like Murphy, you've sort of got to play him what's best for you. So if they think Kerrigan's best to go in the ruck and Murphy at centre half forward, centre half back, wherever they think is best. And then if it's not working, you've got the ability to put him in there. So I'd probably stick him at centre half forward to start with, and then if things aren't working, then throw him in.
Good, thorough preview of this game. Well done, boys. Good chat. We'll be back next week to talk about what has happened in this game. It's happening Sunday. Remember, at Keezy, get down and support your team. If you're
Saturday, in fact, that's a typo on the run sheet.
It's a typo on the run sheet.
That's a typo on the run sheet.
That's his fault.
I don't know how this keeps happening. It must be the gremlins in the
system. I was going to say, Sunday's a strange one to be playing a preliminary final.
because it's just incorrect.
We're going to blame Wilbur, and that's the reason why we just don't have the game.
Blame the work experience kid.
Anyway, Saturday, get down to Keezy and watch a great game of football. We'll be back next week to talk about the grand final. Can't wait for that, boys. We'll see you then, and we'll see you guys there as well.
Get your game face on.